Apple just released iOS 16.1 Beta 3 to registered developers, and it should be out for public beta testers soon. So as always in this video, we're going to go over what's new in the software. And then along with this iOS release, Apple also dropped iPadOS 16.1 Beta 4, which actually shows up as iOS 16 Beta 10. We got macOS Ventura Beta 9, along with watchOS 9.1 Beta 3, tvOS 16.1 Beta 3, and HomePodOS 16.1 Beta 3. All right, so taking a look at the size of this update, you could see it came in here at 709 megabytes on my iPhone 14 Pro Max. That size will vary depending on the version you're coming from, but that is coming from Beta 2, so a pretty large size there. Now if we go ahead and check out the build number, if we go into our settings, general, about 16.1, we can see the build number is 20B5056E. So we have an E at the end of the build number, which indicates we still have at least a couple more betas to go before the final public release. All right, so now what's new here in Beta 3? And the first thing I notice is if we go into our settings and go to General, you will notice that the Matter accessories option is no longer there on Beta 3. So I'm not too sure why Apple added this in Beta 2. It was just an empty, section here. It didn't really have anything in it, but it has been removed with Beta 3. Now a much bigger change in the settings application, it comes in the wallpaper section. So the wallpaper section has been redesigned once again. So you can see that now we can scroll through and change our home screen and lock screen wallpaper from the settings application itself. So now we no longer need to go to our lock screen to change our lock screen and home screen combo right here. So all you have to do is press the set as current button up top, and there we go, it sets it as current and it applies all of your settings, and then it shows that it is current right there up top, which I love. I think this is a really great iteration, a really great addition to the settings application. Also down here, you can see underneath the little page dots we now have in there, which is also new, we have the add new wallpaper button, which is different from the add new wallpaper button on Beta 2. And if we take a look at the verbiage down here at the bottom, Apple has changed one word. So it said from your lock screen, tap and hold to add edit or switch. Now it says from your lock screen, touch and hold. So they changed it from tap and hold to touch and hold. But overall, I think this section is really nice to have in the settings application. That way you don't have to go to your lock screen every single time to change the wallpaper. I also like how you can add a brand new combination, not just a home screen wallpaper, but also a lock screen and a home screen wallpaper straight from here. It also seems like we have some fixes to the dynamic island here in Beta 3 for the 14 Pro series. The animation here is much smoother than it was in Beta 2. Also, you can now swipe to the left to cancel out of that activity that's going on. So if it's distracting you, you can just simply swipe over to the left and it will go away. You'll just have your dynamic island sitting there now. That's not new in Beta 3, but I did just now realize that. AirDrop seems to be fixed in this update. So for whatever reason, AirDrop was giving me a lot of issues in Beta 2, but now in Beta 3, I've AirDropped myself a few things from my iPhone to my Mac and it worked as expected. So if you did have issues with AirDrop, that should be fixed with Beta 3. And then speaking of AirDrop, the image in the share sheet, the little glyph icon down there is updated to show the iPhone 14 Pro model with the dynamic island. We also have some changes in the code for 16.1 Beta 3. So we have the addition of emergency SOS via satellite. So now those satellite connectivity features have been added in the code of 16.1. And we can see further details here as well. Like you cannot send your location via satellite when airplane mode is turned on. And also emergency SOS via satellite will not support emoji. So if you send emoji in the text message, it will not be supported. And then we also get this privacy section here that mentions that locations shared via satellite are encrypted and cannot be accessed by Apple. And I know that I mentioned that Matter was removed in settings for me, but it appears that some people might still have the Matter section in settings, and there have been some changes added to that section in settings, as you can see here from the code. Now we also have some big changes to iPadOS. So you can see here I have iPadOS 16 Developer Beta 10, which again, that is really 16.1 Beta 4, but Apple is releasing iPadOS 16.1 instead of just iPadOS 16 next month. So that's why it shows up as being weird. But there is a nice change here for the Stage Manager feature, the headlining feature, and that is that it now is available for non-M1 iPads. The biggest complaint about Stage Manager is that it was only available on the latest M1 iPads, but now it works with iPads that have the A12X or A12Z chip as well. Now, keep in mind that external support is not going to be added for those A12 devices, but still, you will now get Stage Manager on your iPad, which is a huge deal for those with those older iPads. And then speaking of that external support, the external display support for the M1 iPads will not be released with 16.1. So that has been delayed to a future software update. So it seems like Apple has just had a lot of hiccups with Stage Manager this time around. So expect the external support to be in a future software update. Now, as far as bugs go, we do have a few bugs to talk about that have been happening on beta 2. So first off, the big one, and this was also reported on by 9to5Mac recently, and that is that random resprings are happening when your device is charging. So this happened to me multiple times on both iOS and on iPadOS. So on beta 2 and also on iOS 16.0.2, the latest public release, I've had issues with random resprings when I'm using my phone while it's plugged in charging. It's a quick little respring. It's not like a hard reset or anything or hard reboot. It's just a very simple respring of the device, but it is quite annoying when it happens multiple times. So I'm not sure if that's been fixed yet here in beta 3. I will continue testing and let you guys know in my Apple Weekly episode this weekend, but that is an issue that is affecting a lot of iPhone users right now. And then we also need to talk about the camera rattling bug, the camera vibration bug for the iPhone 14 series. Now that should be fixed in this update. I would imagine that this is fixed with beta 3. It was not fixed in beta 2, but this was fixed in the latest 16.0.2 public release. So if you have a 14 Pro and you were on beta 2 and you had that issue, update to beta 3 and that should be gone. There were also a lot of issues with CarPlay. So if you had mic sensitivity issues with CarPlay, those should also be addressed here with beta 3, although I have no way to confirm that. So we may be waiting until the final release of 16.1 for those issues to be fixed. But if you have CarPlay, go ahead and install beta 3 and let me know if it has been fixed down in the comments below. And then taking a look at the release notes, you can see really not too much has changed in here from the previous beta. So just some minor resolved issues, and then also still quite a few known issues here with beta 3 that I would assume will be fixed by the time 16.1 rolls out to the public. And then as far as the performance goes, performance feels just fine so far. It doesn't really feel different just yet. There was no initial feeling of improved performance here with beta 3, so I would not assume a big change. However, I am going to run a Geekbench test here to see if we have improved scores. All right, so we scored 1888 on the single core and 5415 on the multi-core. And if we compare that to the previous beta, you can see that it is indeed higher on both the single core and the multi-core. So we could very well have some performance improvements here on beta 3 because that's a pretty big difference in both single core and multi-core. So that is a good sign for the performance. And then as far as battery life goes, I would not expect a major bump in battery life, but by the time 16.1 rolls out to the public, we should see a minor improvement over 16.0.2. But here with beta 3 specifically, I'm not too sure yet on how good or bad the battery life is going to be, but I will be testing that and again, letting you know in my Apple Weekly episode. I feel like I keep plugging that, but that is when I give you guys the updates on these iOS versions. And by the way, for those asking if you should install beta 3 on your main device, I usually don't recommend installing a beta on your main device, but usually after beta 3, you should be good, especially on a 0.1 update. So just keep that in mind. Just as long as you can handle bugs and you can handle, things that may go wrong, I think it's fine now to install on a main device, as long as you're aware of the risks that come along with it. All right, so now let's talk about what to expect next from Apple. So next up is going to be iOS 16.1 beta 4. And since we are on a weekly release schedule, I would expect that next week, the first week of October. I cannot believe it's already October, but October 4th is when we could very well see 16.1 beta 4. Now keep in mind, we are rumored to have an Apple event in October. So my guess is that it's going to be in one of the last 2 weeks of October. So I think the final public release of 16.1 is going to come out after that event, because Apple is going to talk about iPadOS 16.1, since we are rumored to hear, or we are rumored to see new iPads get unveiled. So with that being said, I would not expect 16.1 to be released to the public until either the week of the 17th or the 24th. And since there is a good amount of time until that happens, I would not be surprised to see Apple release a 16.0.3 to fix up some of these other issues that are going on with the iPhone right now, like I mentioned in the bugs section of this video. So we could very well see a 16.0.3 maybe next week, maybe the week of the 10th. We'll just have to wait and see. So there you have it. That is iOS 16.1 beta 3. Again, this should be out to public beta testers very soon, if not already out by the time you're watching this video. So if you guys enjoyed this video, if you enjoy these beta updates, I would appreciate if you gave this video a thumbs up. Also, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future iOS 16 beta videos. But anyways, guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.